I would say do not rush your business or your success. Like, we all want everything now. Like, every success, every penny, everything has to be now, now, now. And like, the reality of it is that I want to work for like the next 10, 20, 30 years. So why am I in such a rush? And that's what I definitely had in the beginning.
Olivia, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So it'd be great if we can just to go right back to the beginning and to understand what motivated you to start D.LOUISE.
Yeah, so my story is a bit of a funny one. So I was not a born entrepreneur at all. And when COVID happened, I had a very sort of a life moment that I didn't really know where I was going or what I was doing. My partner, Jack, has always been super entrepreneurial. And obviously his first thing that he thought for me to help me where I was to start a business. And when he first said it to me, I was like, there's no way I can start a business. Like, I have no idea where I'd even begin. But I feel like once you sort of get like an idea in your head, it was like a bit of a snowball effect for me. I lost my mum when I was in 2017, and I didn't really, there's different stages of grief, and I feel like I never really accepted her passing. And when the idea came about of me starting a business, I felt like almost this pull that the business would need to be for her as like a tribute to her. So called it D.LOUISE after her, and have sort of been pouring my life and soul into it ever since.
And how, obviously that's such a personal connection for the business and the name and everything. How does that feel? Is that a weight that it carries with you or a motivation?
For me, it was definitely a motivation. I feel it has allowed me to talk about her every day and be comfortable talking about her, which is quite rare when you lose someone, I think. And it also allows me to show up every single day doing something that I know that she would be proud of. So I'm very much true to myself and true to my values. And I feel like the business has always been about values versus profit. So it's like helping me create my purpose through, fortunately, a really good business.
And you mentioned values there. What sort of values do you feel guide you through the journey?
So our values of the company are be brave, which is definitely like that is my favorite one, because everything I'm brave every day, brave being on this podcast, brave like sending emails that I feel like I'm going to get rejected from. So for me, it's about being brave is about out of your comfort zone, and I'm super into pushing myself like mentally and emotionally, and I try and encourage all the team to do that, because I feel like every day when we do things that are really hard, after we've done them, we're so proud that we've done them. So it's encouraging the team to always take risks, which is good. The other values are choose simplicity, because I feel like in business there is a lot of noise and a lot of opinions of people telling you to do this or do that. And I always say to the team, like, how can we get there in the simplest way and do less better, was sort of where that one came from. And the last one is live happy. So it's kind of a play on my name, obviously, live, and then living happy, because everyone says I'm a very positive person, which I am proud to be very positive, but I've worked really hard to be able to be positive. And one thing that always sits with me, and a quote I love, is that you can't choose what happens to you in life, but you can choose how you respond to it. So I try to encourage the team that even if obviously not every day you're going to be happy and show up in the best version of yourself, but it's about how can we learn from every situation? How can we turn every dark moment into a positive one, and almost like use that as fuel versus like a negative cloud.
And so if we go back to when you initially came up with the idea,
Yeah.
it feels like being brave was one of those moments right there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And what was the initial insight or spark that led to you thinking, right, this is the right route in terms of jewellery?
So I loved jewelry from a very young age. So I used to work at Pandora as like just a sales girl. And I just loved, people would come in and tell me so much about their life just from a small interaction. I would know that they got this charm in Paris when their boyfriend like proposed to them. And I always loved the storytelling behind jewelry, because I feel like storytelling is so powerful. So I very much felt a connection to people when they were buying jewelry. And where I named the brand after my mum, I wanted there to be a connection with the product, and I didn't want to just sell like a white t-shirt. I wanted it to be a memory, a moment, and almost like a feeling for the customers. So that's sort of where jewelry sat quite nicely with me, because it meant that they could have a story every time that they bought D.LOUISE.
And so you've got this, insight of a new idea you want to work on. You've got a passion tied to it. How does it then become a reality, especially given you'd had some experience of working Pandora, but not extensive experience of actually creating a product?
Yeah.
How did you bring it to life?
It was a lot of naivety, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I literally just went for it. I was Googling different types of materials. I was Googling different manufacturers, where you get it manufactured. And I was honestly like, my Google search was like, how do I manufacture jewelry? Like, where do I buy it from? And it was a lot of reach out to different suppliers and people on the internet. And some worked and some definitely didn't work. And when I came across stainless steel, I thought, this feels too good to be true. Like, I feel like someone is lying to me here, because so all of our jewelry is made from stainless steel, which is a really durable metal, which is, well, I think it's way better than like silver, because it can withstand like sweat and showers. And for me, as a jewelry lover, that was always the biggest pain point, is that you couldn't wear like costume jewelry all the time. So when I was chatting to the suppliers about what I wanted out of it, he was like, "Oh, it sounds like you want stainless steel." And I was like, "Surely stainless steel is just for like kitchen sinks. Like, I don't understand where you've got this from." But you know what? I was just like, when you get a gut feel, I was like, I'm going to give this a go. Ordered some samples, and I was like, oh my gosh, these are really good, really good.
And was anyone else doing anything similar at the time? Did you look?
There was one other person that I came across when I first started. I feel like now there's a lot more competition in the
Mhm.
market, but when I first started, there was one other brand.
And how did you say you sort of decided to give it a go? At that point, how confident were you that it was actually going to turn into a successful business? Or was it more about just
Oh,
taking the leap?
I had no idea.
Right.
Yeah, I literally was like, all I wanted was to leave my job. That was like my goal. I was like, I just need something to get me out of this job. And at the time, I was literally earning like £1,400 a month, which is not a lot of money as a grad in London. And I was like, if I can get to the business to give me that, then that was the most success I ever really wanted, to be honest. I was really ambitious, and I wanted the business to do well. But for me, it was more just about doing something for myself to get me out of like a situation that I wasn't enjoying.
Hmm. And how did the transition then come about? But where you got to the point where you could leave the job and you
Mm.
reached that point?
Yeah, that was really tough, to be honest. It was really hard, because I was in a really difficult place where I couldn't give everything to D.LOUISE, and then I also couldn't give everything to my old job. So I felt like I was really torn. Like, I would wake up super early, pack orders in the morning, then I would do my normal 9 to 5, and then I would pack more orders and then like run to the post office before it closed. And it was really, really hard work. It was really tough. And it got to the point where I said to Shaq, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, it's just too difficult. And he was like, right. Yeah, I literally can remember this conversation on the sofa. We were sat on the sofa, and he was like, right, if I guarantee you what you earn at your current job, would you leave your job? And I was like, yeah, 100%. And I quit the next day.
Oh,
And then
wow.
he was literally like, oh God, I actually need to pay her
This
now.
happened.
Yeah. And I think as well, like, ever since I went full time, like, your mindset is such a shift in that. And I was like, I have to make this work now. It has to be success. A, to get me out of, I need to be able to pay my rent. And B, my mum would kill me if it's not a success. So I had these two huge like driving forces pushing me in the right direction.
You think it's essential to have a point where there is that full commitment, or can you build it along the side?
I think you can. So I built it alongside for 4 months, and then took that leap. I definitely think you could probably do both. It's just like if your mental health can cope with it, to be honest, because I was just like at the point where I was like, I couldn't do it anymore.
And who was working on it at the time? Was it just you, or did you bring other people on?
It was just me, yeah. So it was just me, and then I had Jack's guidance and another founder, Ollie. And but it was the boys didn't really get it. Like, I trying to explain to them like it's stainless steel and it's not silver. They just didn't understand it in the beginning. I was like, guys, it's gonna work, I promise, it's gonna be really good. So I had them guiding me in terms of like helping me out with like logistics and stuff like that. Jack was running our ads at the time, so
Hmm.
he spent the whole of lockdown learning everything about paid media. And he was like just almost like testing and learning and failing fast and spending loads of money on Facebook. And fortunately, it was pre iOS 14,
Hmm.
and we did have some success on there.
I might have got this wrong, but I feel like I saw something that said something like it cost about £700 to get the first customer, and then it was like,
Yeah.
off we go.
Yeah, because I remember he was saying to me, like, it'll be fine, like, we'll just start running ads, like, loads of people will start buying. And I was there, like, watching the Shopify, like, where are all these people and why are they not buying anything? Like, I was like, it feels so weird. And I remember the day that it was like the first time it wasn't a name I recognized. And yeah, he only told me like a year later that he spent like £700 to get the first sale.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then from that moment onwards, did things, everyone from the outside looking in obviously thinks it's gone 0 to amazing.
Yeah.
Was it such a linear journey?
It was really, really tough. And I think no journey is linear. And for us, it was about showing up every day. And like, I remember when you were allowed to go shopping again after COVID, like the shops opened, that was like the worst day ever. We went from having like consistently 30, 40 sales a day to having like 10 overnight. And it was felt really tricky. Obviously, it then leveled out and it got better. But yeah, we've definitely had to go through some challenges, like even now with like the US tariffs. That's like a huge, huge problem for us if they don't come to some sort of agreement. But it's about taking these challenges and like learning how can we pivot, right? Okay, if it's not working, if it won't work in the US going forward, what other markets can we enter? And always using any challenge that comes up as like an opportunity to grow in a different area or learn from it in some way.
How do you build that as a sort of mindset or a skill as a founder?
I think it definitely doesn't happen overnight. I think it's about putting in the hard work. Like, if the tariffs happened to me like 3 years ago, I probably would be like crying every single day. And I think it's about like learning that the more you exercise your brain to focus on the positives and the pivots and the opportunities, the easier it gets. So I think it's definitely understanding that you're not going to be able to do it overnight. And it's about constantly improving that mindset.
When you seem so confident, was that always the way in terms of starting a business and being a founder?
No, not at
No.
all. And I feel like I still actually struggle with my confidence a little bit. I'm careful with my words because you're not meant to put it out into the universe. But yeah, I think like for me, when I first started, I had a private Instagram, never spoken on camera before. And I remember the first ever video shoot I did, it took me 4 hours to do a 30-second clip. And the videographer was like, I think we just need to stop. I was like, please, like, let me go home. Like, it was awful, so, so bad. But one like analogy I always say is that if a baby's learning to walk and they keep falling over, you're not going to be like, oh, don't worry, you can't walk for the rest of your life. So whenever I'm trying out a new skill or trying to improve in certain areas, I'm like, I just have to be bad at it for a certain amount of time. And then hopefully I'll get better.
Nice.
Yeah.
And have other people helped you to develop sort of mindsets and attitudes like this, or is that something purely self-driven?
I have coaches,
Yep.
which is I found really useful. Like I have a public speaking coach and a communication coach. And I didn't think that I needed them. I thought I'd be able to do it all myself. But the more I'm working with people, the more I realize that like they're actually really, really helpful. Even in terms of like breathing techniques,
Mm.
like it's all about your posture, how you sit, and how you talk to yourself is like my inner voice is something I'm really trying to work on, because how you speak to yourself every day is so powerful. So if you can change that narrative into a positive one, you will definitely reap the benefits and the rewards of that.
And how I think you mentioned your partner and co-founder Jack, and then
Yeah.
Ollie as well, your other co-founder. How's the relationship work with Jack on obviously a personal level and a professional level in terms of building each other up as founders and people?
Yeah, so me and Jack always say that we're yin and yang. He is very commercially driven, very loves the numbers and the vision, and I'm very much a product focused person. So it's definitely comes with our challenges, and we have come to a very good balance, I think, Jack and I. Um, we respect one another a huge amount, which I definitely think helps any relationship. And I actually think it benefits the business because he will say to me, right, I really need your support on this, and we'll go to the team and present it. And I feel like having that level of certainty from the leaders makes the team feel very confident and comfortable in where we're going and what our vision is. So yeah, I think it works really well between us.
Do you as a three or as a two, do you have people that you can lean on that have more experience in this industry or in other industries that you can go to and ask for advice as well?
Yeah, so we got investment from a man called Steve Hewitt, who is the ex CEO of Gymshark. And it was after a really good Black Friday. So Black Friday is huge for anyone in ecom. Um, and I remember we sold all our stock for November, December, and January in Black Friday, like our Black Friday sale.
And
Yeah.
what sort of window was
I
that?
think it was like a week.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had done the stock buy, obviously had no experience. I was like, I'm not sure how do you forecast something that's never
Yeah.
happened before? So I remember that happened. And then after that, Jack was like, I think we need some outside help just to make sure that we're going in the right direction and focusing on the right things, because focus is so hard as a founder to know what you're doing. Um, so yeah, we approached they're called For Now is their advisory company. And I remember we were filling out a form and it was like, are you above like £10 million revenue? And we were like, yep. And we weren't at the time. And we basically lied to get on the call because I knew if I got on a call with these guys, I was like, I can tell them my story. They'll love it and they'll want to be involved. So we did exactly that. Yeah. And Steve came to the first meeting we had with them, and we're just telling them everything about the story and where we want to go, and we knew from that point on they were like really interested in the business, because like one thing Steve always says is that you have to have a vision, you have to have a story, but also the maths have to work.
Hmm.
Unfortunately for us, that was all coming into play. So yeah, they help us a lot on like advisory and making sure that we're going in the right direction, which is good.
And how about other founders? Do you find that you have reached out to people within the jewelry industry or other people that have been a sort of support network on the same level?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I actually found it really difficult. I found it a very lonely place as a founder, and especially as a female founder. I feel like Jack had lots of like ecom buddies and they would all like meet up and talk about Facebook ads, and I really wasn't into that kind of thing. And I definitely found it difficult to find people who were on the same wavelength. But as I grew my confidence, as my business grew, I would just reach out to people on like Instagram and be like, hey, you've got a business, I've got a business, do you want to go for a coffee? And 9 times out of 10, they would be feeling exactly the same way that I was, and they would want to come for that coffee. So it was about putting myself out there and making sure that I was connecting to these people, and because everyone feels the same. And
Yeah.
I thought they were going to be like not interested, but they really were.
And it's nice to, sometimes nice to wallow with people that are going through the same experience and can, yeah.
100%. Yeah.
In terms of your journey from a sort of well-being point of view, how
Yeah.
have you coped as a founder with the highs and the lows?
I would say that I'm probably still improving that area. I think like I'm a very emotional person and I wear my heart on the sleeve. So if something annoys me or if I get upset about something, I find it really difficult to almost like control those emotions. I think for me, I have really dove into meditation, and I love meditation. It makes me feel so clear-headed, and I always say I'm a bit like a terrier. So if something annoys me or if I receive an email that like bugs me, I just want to reply straight away and just be like, "Rah," like go crazy. Whereas I feel like where I've been working on my mindset a lot, I can take a breath a lot more. I'm not perfect, and I'm definitely still working on it, but it's meditation has been the number one thing for me.
What does that practice look like for you?
Just every day, I try to do about 10 minutes. I use an app called Insight Timer, and I make little goals with myself. So I'll say, like, if I can do 7 days in a row, then I can buy myself a present.
Nice.
And genuinely, that has been the only thing that has kept me consistent. So I'm currently on day 34 in a row, and that's like my best ever. And it'll be like, okay, so once I get to day 14, I get to buy X thing. It can be really small. It can be going for a massage. It can be booking like a gym class. It doesn't always have to be a material thing. But knowing that is like my treat at the end of doing something that I find sometimes can be quite difficult, it has helped me keep that consistency.
And when I know that you and Jack both did mentoring with Virgin Start for other founders.
Yeah.
When you're mentoring other founders, can you see people making mistakes that you previously made that you're now able to guide them through and help them avoid?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there is a want to keep doing more and more and more as a founder. And what I always love now is telling people to do less. And I think it's about doing the basics, the foundations really, really well and absolutely nailing them. And then you can build from there. For me, it's like I have found fulfillment truly comes from what you give versus what you get. So I feel like helping and mentoring people, even though I'm not like a business expert, is really fulfilling. So yeah, I hope that I can keep giving back to the founders and people and hopefully stop them from making some mistakes that I have.
Nice. And in terms of your journey going forward,
Mm.
what are the plans?
Yeah, so we are actually a few days away from like the biggest thing we've ever done as a brand, which is a new era of D.LOUISE. So we are having new colors, a new logo. I say like our community and what we stand for will always be like true to who we are, but we're now ready to have like a little grown up little brand. Um, I started the business as almost like an experiment, and our logo and our colors were just made on wood in Jack's mum's kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah, so I feel like the last 4 years have been almost where we've been playing with it. There's been no pressure on how it looks or how we show up, but I feel like I'm really ready for this like new chapter. And what I love so much about this new chapter is we have gone back and taken a real deep dive into why we started the brand and who it's for. So lots of things that my mum loved is in the new rebrand. And it's stuff like, so her favorite flower was a lily. So our new packaging is a lily pouch. And then we've got a new monogram, which is actually going to be turned into jewellery. And that's all based off like a little talisman she used to carry in her purse. So it's about being able to show up as a brand true to who we are and why we started. So yeah, I'm really excited for this new phase.
Awesome. And then you yourself are quite public and a public facing version of the brand. Does that come with challenges being the face of it so publicly?
Yeah, I think it comes with like external pressure, but the classic is pressure is a privilege. And for me, what I'm learning so much is that the more vulnerable I am about my story, I'm encouraging people to be vulnerable themselves. And the more I share about the challenges and things that I've gone through, I'm feel like I'm giving people strength to talk about their own challenges. And for me, that is like the best thing I could ever do is like help that one person who is going through something really hard and be I guess, like, inspire them that even though you are going through hard times, I've been there too. Like, I've been in that dark place and I've been able to turn it around. So I hope that the more public I am, the more I can help people.
Have you ever thought about doing anything other than this?
Oh, I don't know. No, I don't think so. I feel like the business is so true to me and my core and everything I believe in. I would really, really struggle if I did anything else. I just love it so much that I would just want to do it probably forever.
And for maybe imagine yourself when you were first starting this journey, someone's about to embark on a journey starting a product based business,
Mm.
maybe e-commerce. What tips would you have for them?
I would say there's two things. I would say do not rush your business or your success. Like we all want everything now. Like every success, every penny, everything has to be now, now, now. And like the reality of it is that I want to work for like the next 10, 20, 30 years. So why am I in such a rush? And that's what I definitely had in the beginning. And then I would say my second advice would be is I always like the phrase start pulling the thread. So if you're thinking about starting a business or not sure where to go with an idea, I think if you just take really small steps and in the right direction. So if that's like setting up an Instagram page with a logo that you like, it's just doing the small things really well. So if you start pulling that thread, then it means other things will sort of snowball around it.
Do you think part of the longer term vision comes from having such a close personal passion and values embedded within the business? Does that help to have that?
Yeah, I definitely think it does. I do think that passion is like a bit of a buzzword and purpose is also a buzzword, but you don't have to have passion and purpose about your product. I think you have to have passion and purpose about yourself and the journey that you're going on versus like the external product. So like you don't have to like really, 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 really love what you do. You have to love the person that you're becoming and the journey that you're going on.
That's really interesting. So it's almost, yeah, the self development part of it and
Yeah.
the passion for that. That's very
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, great. And then in terms of messages to other founders that are maybe struggling on their
Mhm.
journey, they've reached a point where they've hit a wall and it maybe doesn't look like it's going to work out.
Yeah.
How have you navigated those challenges and what would you say to them?
I mean, I'm a bit spiritual, so I always say that everything happens for a reason. And I think if you are true to who you are and your values and you're doing things for the right reasons, I do believe that good things will come to you. And I think I always see things as like phases. So you might be in a really tricky phase right now, but it doesn't mean that it's forever. So it's about learning to ride the storm versus trying to retreat. I think if you just keep pushing, that would be probably my best advice.
You were recognised in 2024 for Forbes 30 Under 30. What sort of impact did that have for you personally and for your brand?
Yeah, it was really funny. Did you go to uni?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
remember the morning of uni when you had to like open your results
Uh,
page?
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is literally what Falls felt like when I remember Jack and I were like lying in bed, just woke up, and he was like, check the page, and I couldn't find the page, and I was like,
Online.
online,
Yeah.
yeah. So you don't know if you're going to be in it until the day of release. So I was like looking, and I couldn't find it anywhere, and I eventually found it, and I was like, oh my god, we're on there. And the only way I could describe it is like getting into uni was if that's how it felt, and I think it was incredible for us because when you're a small business, all you are trying to get is credibility. And credibility is really, really hard to get as a small business. And when we were on there, it almost just set us apart from the rest of the other small
Mm,
businesses, basically. And I just felt like, for me, it was like, okay, finally, we're having some recognition. Because also, you think you're going mad as a founder sometimes.
mm.
Like, you're so in the day to day that you don't really know what the outside world is thinking of you. So, yeah, it was incredible to be recognized by them.
Who was the first person you called to share it with?
Oh, I don't actually know. Maybe my dad, and
Really?
even my dad knew what it was because
Oh,
my dad's,
really?
yeah, my dad's a bit clueless about stuff like that. And he was like, yeah, I think I've heard of that. I was like, it's really good, Dad. Don't worry. Yeah.
From a personal point of view,
Yeah.
like when you started out, you were saying to have, to make that £1,400 a month, that would be
Yeah.
success.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think about in terms of what's driving you now? Are you thinking, again, personal growth or
Yeah.
what's the new goal?
I think for me, I feel like, I feel like there is no end goal. That's
Mm,
what I've realized. So success for me is realizing that there is no end goal. And every day I really take a lot of pleasure in having a coffee in the morning on my sofa and having a slow morning and even like I popped my tire the other day and it cost me £150. And when I first started, that would have probably sent me into tears because I wouldn't have
mm,
been able to afford it. So for me, it's about when life throws you curveballs and I'm like, oh, I can afford to change my tire for
yeah.
150 quid and it doesn't like set me back for like that used to be my weekly budget. So I think it's like it's the small things I'm definitely finding are giving me the most success.
Nice. Do you still because like you've got such a positive mindset, or it
Mm.
sounds like you do, where you react to things almost quite quickly positively. Do you
Yeah.
still have moments where you feel like, low and you have to force yourself to get out of it, or are you just so good at it these days that you can just flip?
Yeah, no, I definitely have low
Yeah.
days. Like I think where we've been pushing it so hard, we did like Walk and Talk, which was a huge campaign. I've just come back from our summer shoot, and then now we're going into our rebrand. I'm like just treading my head
Give
above
me a
water.
break.
Yeah. But like in times like that, I honestly do break down and cry and have bad weeks.
Mm,
But I constantly just try and remind myself, like, you are doing something really difficult, and what you're trying to achieve is actually really out of the ordinary.
mm.
So it's okay for it to feel hard, and it's okay to have sad days. But it's about being able to show up for my team even when I'm feeling a bit rubbish, is like, that's what I really try and do.
Nice. I'm sure they appreciate it.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
Last thing is just, I think I saw you do a 300-kilometer walk. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we had this wild idea a few years ago that I would walk from Cardiff to London. So I'm originally from Wales. And it was about like my journey from being in Wales and then now being in London. And it kind of started off as a joke, and then all of a sudden it was like a real thing. And we did it the first time last year, and then we did it again this year. So I walk. The first time I did it, I walked a marathon a day for 8 days. Then this year I was like, I'll do it again, but I need it to be 2 days shorter. So I did a marathon a day for 6 days. But yeah, it's all about raising awareness for people who are going through something difficult, and give them strength and hope and belief that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And it's about encouraging conversations about difficult things. Because I feel like, especially with me and grief is so hard to talk about to anyone. And the more I'm doing Walk and Talk, and I honestly find out so much about these people's lives, and people that I've never met before will come on the walk and tell me like about someone that they've lost and what they've been through. So it's coming back to that, giving people strength in their own stories by me being vulnerable and sharing mine.
Literally couldn't finish on a better note. I don't even know how to summarize that as perfect. I
Yeah.
think so many founders go through journeys in their personal life and in their business where they're struggling.
Yeah.
And to hear you talk about things openly and to show there is hope and there's a way around things and a way through things is so encouraging. So thank you.
Thank you.